Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, is one of my very best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
That's great, Matt. Matt, I'll be honest. I'm a bit worried for our audio adventure this week, mostly because in the area I'm in right now, there is a 3-day air show.
Damn.
And luck, Lady Luck might not always be with us because I asked you to record around this time. Apparently, gates just opened for that air show, and there's going to be potential practices before the show actually starts this afternoon. Matt, am I a terrible person? Because I'm looking outside right now, and I see the skies are kind of gray. So one, I'm hoping this might be rained out, just so we can pod appropriately. But at the same time, part of me has that chaotic energy of, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Matt, but here we are, another week of the Mistake Zone. I think it's been some time since we got together to talk about our many mistakes, mostly because I know last week with our last episode with our friend Rakush, we recorded that a bit earlier. So it's been a solid, I think, week and a half since we last spoke. I mean, we speak every day, Matt, but when we last produced a podcast. But how are you doing, Matt? Anything that you want to share with the class?
I'm doing okay, Jaren. This has been a very monetarily spent weekend. I unexpectedly made a bunch of purchases, but whatever. I have a job. I can afford things. Chilling.
Matt, you said the magic words, and I know this is the Mistake Zone, and this is a video game and anime quote-unquote adjacent podcast. But Matt, when you opened the floodgates for our monetary purchases, I need to tell you what came in the mail this week.
What is it, Jaren?
Matt, you know how much I love me some anime figures in general. And I got a beefy package in the mail this week. And to start off, Matt, do you have a holy grail, so to speak, in terms of a particular figure that you've always had your eye on, that you always wanted to purchase?
I want my Hololive Subaru duck that's been trapped in Japan for 2 years.
Other than the Hololive stuff that we had, oh man, I was telling Julian about how I think between the both of us, we have just a lot of Hololive merch stuck in EMS limbo, and I hope that the Japanese post office service will open up and allow those to ship out.
Same.
But Matt, for me personally, there's this one Hatsune Miku figure that's always been in the back of my head since I first saw it years and years ago. I believe its initial release was actually back in 2009. I'm talking about the Supercell featuring Miku Hatsune World is Mine natural frame figure. This is basically based on the PV of the World is Mine song released many, many years ago as well. And to me, when I first saw it online, I thought this was such a beautiful Miku figure. Honestly, Matt, 10 years ago, even more than 10 years ago, I think we're approaching close to 12 years ago now, I wasn't in a financial situation where I can go out to spend, triple digits in terms of figures. Fast forward, I think now in our early 30s, which pains me to say, I find myself more comfortable in terms of figure spending, at least. So I saw that the World is Mine figure got a re-release recently, and I put in an order. And Matt, after I think a decade of wanting this figure to actually receive the box and open it up, I'm not gonna lie, Matt, I got a little emotional. So to kind of describe this figure, this is based on, as I said, the PV of the World is Mine music video. What I really like about it is it comes in, it's essentially the Miku figure, but she also lies down on this framed kind of figure base when throughout the years they've released many frame colors. There's this beige one, a brown one, a black one. With the recent re-release, I got the brown frame version. So I opened that up, popped it out, and started to display it. Matt, the first thing that came to mind for the actual Miku figure is that it's separated from the base when you first get it, and I was actually pleasantly surprised where the way you attach the Miku figure onto the base is through magnets. It's not like a little notch that you kind of stick together. You can just plop it on the base, it sticks, and you're able to actually either display it at a 45-degree angle or hang it upright on a wall, which I'm doing currently. I'm actually staring at it right now as I talk to you. So I don't know, Matt. It's one of those weird feelings of wanting something for so long, but never really pulling the trigger, and then finally getting around to the root. Finally finding yourself in a situation where you can own it. And man, not to sound like a creepo, but this is probably the most beautiful figure that I own. I think overtaking my Thai figure from Persona 5, but I don't know, it's displayed on my wall. I'm looking forward to Zoom meetings so I can position my camera in a way where it's really prominent in the background and everyone can tell, okay, this guy is definitely a degenerate and I don't want to do business with him. But that, I don't know, it's just, I find it really well sculpted. I like Miku's green hair. I sound like a total pervert right now, but I just had to tell you that, Matt, that I now own this figure. It's displayed proudly on my wall. I love the figure technology from over a decade ago that uses magnets to hold it onto the base. And yeah, I don't know if I've ever told you this, I think between us, Matt, but I think honestly in terms of, you know, character design, especially within the anime realm, I do think Hatsune Miku is probably my favorite designed character. So I'm always happy to get any merch based on her. So to have this on my wall once again, this is my mistake of the week. My Supercell featuring Hatsune Miku World's Mind figure, and I am a happy camper.
Jaren, it being on the wall sounds like the craziest thing to me. Because, like, I'm just imagining it just on a wall by itself. Because I'm assuming you don't have anything else that's, like, wall mounted, right?
Nope.
Okay. Because I grew up around a lot of, I guess, like, I don't know how to say this, but, like, religious paraphernalia. And just imagining Miku on a wall is just giving me images of, like, whenever I go to, like, my grandma's house or my, like, more, like, devoutly Christian, like, aunts and uncles' houses. And I'm just imagining Miku being on the wall in the same way that they have, like, Jesus on a cross.
Matt, as a Filipino with religious parents, you know, the image of my Hatsune Miku, because Matt, let's be honest, the Hatsune Miku World's Mind figure, pretty suggestive, to say the least. So to picture in my DGen head, to picture this Miku figure beside, say, a portrait of the Last Supper makes me happy. Not to say that I have a picture of the Last Supper on my wall right now, but I think this, just looking at this Miku figure on my wall, if my Filipino mother were to saw it, I think she would be profoundly disappointed in me. But that's part of the charm of the mistake zone, Matt. This office is the mistake zone.
Jaren, I just looked this figure up on Amazon. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the manufacturer minimum age for this figure is 36.
Well then, Matt, does that mean I am going to prison?
Yo, this is illegal, Jaren. You're gonna get arrested by Miku police.
Well, Matt, it's been nice broadcasting with you for over a decade, and me owning this figure is, you know, has been a decade in the making. So if this is how I go out, I think this is what the mistake zone has been leading up to. So it was a pleasure serving with you, Matt, and I am going to step outside to give myself in now. But overall, Matt, I think in my, you know, twisted head, knowing that there are 3 different frames, you know, a beige frame and a black frame as well, if this situation ever presents itself, I don't know, Matt. I think I feel like I would try to collect the unholy trio, just so I can have that.
Is
But
the frame the only thing that changes?
yes, the frame's the only thing that changes.
So even like the matte thing she's on is like still stays the same color and everything?
Yeah,
Oh.
since that's how it was presented in the PV. But I
Mhm.
don't know, Matt. I'm happy, and I guess to finish it off, the reason why the box was so big was not only this figure, but I also got my Rushia Figma from. This is my first Hololive Figma. It's currently boxed alongside my other boxed Hololive figures. Maybe because I know we've been trying to up our, social presence, posting possibly some Instagram clips and videos. Plus, I know we've been discussing what we should try to do with our DGen TikTok. So I think, Matt, I'm going to start looking into unboxings. And then, once I start to port or move a lot of things into the Mistake Zone office, I think I would like to do more figure showcases. So I think that's going to be, we'll move that to the coming soon section. So maybe one of these days I'll unbox this, Rushia Figma. I'm also looking at a Sora figure that I should probably unbox. But for all our friends out there, keep an eye out. And Matt, maybe I'll post a creepy TikTok of this Miku figure, but I'm not making any promises.
Nice, 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 nice.
But
nice.
I gotta make sure to do it before the Miku police take me away. But before that, I think free game or free reign. So Matt, last week I told you and Rakush that I was going to rewatch the new Dragon Ball Super movie, Superhero.
Oh yeah.
But in 4DX, mostly because Cineplex, they were doing a $3 National Cinema Day or something where, all the different movies, whether it be regular, VIP, 3D, IMAX, you could get in for $3. And I thought, okay, 4DX is something that I would probably never pay $20 to experience, but at a $3 entry level, I might as well just to see what the hubbub is about. So Matt,
Jaren?
that was my mentality going in. By the time the 4DX experience ended, I turned to our group and said, okay, I can probably see myself paying $20 for this.
Nice. They got you, Jaren. That's how they get you.
It worked. The got me, Matt. The bamboozled me, and it worked. So as I kind of mentioned last week, so 4DX is this interactive, movie-going experience where not only does the seat move, kind of similar to a D-Box, but you have all these different, let's say, elemental effects going on. I know if you were to check out the 4DX website, you'll get, there are times where you might be misted. There's going to be lighting effects. There are fans around the theater to, mimic any wind effects. And these are pretty much film experiences that have been not necessarily built for 4DX, but kind of, produced with that in mind in some capacity. And for Dragon Ball Super, I actually was really surprised at the overall experience. So I did go with friend of the pod, Kevin, and a few other friends. And what they do is when the whole movie starts, you are treated to this sort of introductory scene that kind of goes through everything you're going to experience. It's essentially like this, not necessarily like a storyline, like an actual short film, but it's, hey, here's a wacky scenario with spy stuff going on. They're on motorcycles at one point. Something to give you a taste of what you're going to experience. And Matt, this might be TMI, Matt, but after the movie, when I was in the washroom, the guy beside me washing his hands asked, what did you think of the movie? He said that he wasn't really a Dragon Ball or anime fan, but at $3, he wanted to experience what 4DX was. And I feel like that was kind of the same vibe as mostly everyone in the theater, where, okay, the price points are really low. I want to see what 4DX is. And honestly, I think that's what I've been kind of missing from the movie going experience over over the pandemic for the last few years, just because it's kind of nice to be in a theater with a bunch of different people, especially experiencing something for the first time. There was a few kids in there too that was just going crazy over kind of the butt jokes, which really made it enjoying to me. But I think the whole experience was amplified because, hey, this is something this theater full of people is experiencing for the first time. So when that introductory scene plays, Matt, I think everyone, because I've done D-Box once, and I believe you've done D-Box a few times. And
Yes.
would you say that the D-Box, movement in the chairs isn't that jarring?
No, it's not really that jarring. There's like some parts where a big action thing is happening where it like jerks you around like quite a bit, but then other than that, I think not really.
So Matt, I went in thinking, oh, this would be comparable to D-Box. It is not comparable to D-Box. It's literally pretty violent, if I had to be really honest.
Oh, damn.
At points, I was gripping onto my popcorn just because I knew if I lessened that grip just a bit, that popcorn would have been flying everywhere.
Damn.
The seats are actually it's really jarring, and I think that introductory scene is really useful just to kind of set the pace, because everyone was just after that initial jerk, everyone was just laughing and saying, whoa, did not expect that. And some of the people we went with were saying, oh yeah, I had to like grip onto the handrest. My hair was in front of my face for the whole time.
Damn.
And it was legit like a roller coaster at some, not like as extreme as a roller coaster, but it was definitely not your granddad's D-Box experience, Matt.
Like, so just comparing it to D-Box, because I
Yeah.
remember that the chairs themselves were actually like a little bit wider, and like the spacing between the chairs was also a bit bigger than like normal. I'm guessing, is it more on like the 4DX chairs?
As someone who recently sat in a D-Box chair, I think they're actually comparable.
Oh, okay.
But for the way the theater is positioned, I know this isn't something in every theater. I think selective VIP theaters have the D-Box showings in general, but the seats are sort of in groups of 4, and then there's like a tiny space between the edge seats. So
Okay.
like that's why we can kind of move more freely. I would say it's not as bulky as a D-Box seat, but it's kind of, it moves a lot more in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think the D-Box experience in itself is pretty nice. Like there was smoke effects for some of the battles. I really did like the wind from the fans. I think that really added to it. The one thing I did feel cheated about is I looked it up on Reddit just to see, what to expect from 4DX. And people were saying, oh, you should watch out for the mist, because I was pretty damped by the end of the movie. And
Damn.
with that in mind, this was my second viewing of Dragon Ball Super, and there were a lot of moments where I saw, I can definitely see where they would have, used mist. But Matt, no mist in our theater.
Oh, damn.
So I felt a bit cheated out of that element. But overall, like, honestly, it was kind of comparable to a theme park ride where I can definitely see the novelty in it. Well, I could see myself paying the $20 entry fee, but at the same time, I think it would be easier if I had like a 2-for-1 coupon or something like that to offset the cost. But I think it's definitely one of those things you should experience once in terms of a movie. I think the only caveat to that is I was talking to Kevin after, and he said that honestly, he found that all the seats moving and everything was really distracting to him, where he couldn't necessarily follow the plot. So it might be one of those things where I think I enjoyed it a lot more because I've already seen the movie, and that way
I see.
I was in rewatch mode. So I'm just kind of saying, how will this scene be affected by all the 4DX stuff? But as someone who is going in for the first time, it might be like really distracting.
I see.
Two things about that whole movie going experience. The first thing is after the movie, we're exiting out, and then we look at the front row, and Matt, remember how I said you get that introductory scene with just to show you everything 4DX has to offer?
Yeah.
Let's just say we looked at the front row, and there were literally bags of full popcorn spilt all over the floor.
Damn.
So one, that's pretty rough.
Rip.
And then two, so it's $3 movie day, of course. The theaters are packed. I bet all the employees are just hating the whole experience and everything. So when we first got into the theater, we noticed that we were a group of 5.
Yeah.
And we saw that, oh no, there are like 2 people in our seats. So we're like, hey, these are our seats. You book it online and then it says on your ticket, and they're like, oh, sorry, our mistake. These shifted down like to the end of the row. And like, okay, that's understandable. You booked the end caps. Maybe you want a center seat, whatever. A few minutes into the traditional trailers, we noticed that, the 2 people who were originally in our seats, the seat takers, 2 more people came and said, hey, you guys are in our seats. And they're like, oh, sorry.
These guys.
So they move up into the row ahead of us. A few minutes into the movie, same thing happens again. Hey, you're in our seat. So the seat takers, get up, look around, and just leave the theater.
These guys.
Matt, I understand wanting to sneak into a movie, but 1, come on, it's $3. And 2, not that I'm condoning this, but why don't you just look up the seating chart online and see which seats are free?
Oh, that's a good idea.
At that point. But overall, once again, enjoyable experience. I think 4DX is worth it, possibly during a rewatch if you can find, a cheaper alternative to get access. I kind of see where Kevin was coming from and seeing it was really distracting, but for the most part, if you are looking, not to be a shill for 4DX, Matt, but I was honestly pleasantly surprised with the whole thing. And all I'm going to say is just brace yourself. But for me personally, I think you really need the right type of film to experience this in, just because I think for something like Dragon Ball or like Fast and the Furious, I think that because those are, goofy action movies, I think that really adds to the experience. I was talking to some, the group afterwards. I honestly don't think I would see a Marvel movie in 4DX if the chance presented itself, mostly because I feel like Marvel movies are more, not to take away from the storytelling prowess of Fast and Furious, but I feel like with a Marvel movie, it's a bit more story heavy, where I think that would subtract to it. As opposed to watching Vin Diesel and his family just doing something stupid, which I think would enhance the experience.
I feel that. I think 100% I want to watch Fast 10 in 4DX.
Yes.
I think for the Marvel thing, though, I mostly agree with you. I think the only Marvel movie I would maybe want to watch in 4DX, just because of the movement aspect that you guys are talking about, is maybe like a Spider-Man movie.
Oh, man, Matt. A Spider-Man movie, like imagining Spider-Man swinging with the different seat moving plus the wind effects, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I feel like any other movie probably wouldn't be able to get as much out of the 4DX other than Spider-Man.
One little thing that I wanted to add about the 4DX experience, it was one of the stupidest things, but essentially there are also like lumbar massage. Like it kind of reminds me of a massage chair. So when there were scenes of people walking, you have like the little lumbar massage beats just kind of like stepping on your back. And I thought, okay, This is excessive. This is poorly trying to justify 4DX, but I was wildly into it, Matt. But yeah, overall pleasantly surprised. If you have an opportunity to find it, maybe not necessarily full price, but I do think you can see value in it. So Matt,
Jaren,
speaking about 4D experiences, let's dial that back a bit. Let's dial it into a more existential experience.
Okay.
Matt, big week in video games this week. And once again, we find ourselves asking the question, are we a squid, Matt, or are we a kid? I know we're not kids, Matt, but let's say in the world of Splatoon 3, that question is really relevant. And I know you've been playing it a lot this week. Unfortunately, I'll be honest, Matt, we tried to roll the dice here in the mistake zone, at least this branch of the mistake zone, and we were unable to procure a copy. So unfortunately, I still can't answer the Squid Kid question, at least for another week. But Matt, based on your experiences with Splatoon 3, where do you stand in the debate?
Jared, I'm very bad at both being a squid and a kid. But
okay, Matt.
Man.
Matt, please tell me about Splatoon 3.
Jaren's Splatoon 3 is just more Splatoon. I didn't expect to kind of just like fall back into exactly how I played Splatoon 1.
Right. Yeah.
Because okay. So I think that Splatoon 3 has not majorly changed in any way when I compare it to my Splatoon 1 and like limited Splatoon 2 experiences.
Okay.
It really is broken down into either you're doing single player, you're doing co-op, or you're doing the versus
Salmon
the
Run, right?
PvP. Yeah.
Okay,
Salmon Run as the co-op or the PvP through turf battles or anarchy battles. I think like really them switching to anarchy battles versus whatever it was before is really the only like major change that happened there.
Could you explain what an anarchy battle is?
Anarchy battle is basically the way that they're explaining their competitive.
Right. Oh, so this is ranked.
Yeah,
right?
they're ranked. Yeah,
Okay.
they're ranked mode, which is basically you pay a certain amount of points as your entry fee, and then you compete to win 5 or lose 3, whichever happens first. If you win the 5, you if you win the 5, you supposedly get more points. I can't confirm that because Jared, I can't win 5 matches.
Oh no, man!
But if you lose the 3, you lose the points that you like basically paid to get into that I guess bracket of competition. Because the
Right.
points that you're paying are basically the points that make up your elo.
How do you earn points? Is this through kind of turf war, or how do you earn your entry fee?
So initially you have a 0 cost entry fee.
Okay.
This is just like how it was in the other Splatoons with their entry fees, except it's like, okay, so at the very very base of like I guess C minus, you have no entry fee. You basically just enter the matches and then you win your points.
Right.
And then as you get higher in rank, you have to like pay a certain amount of points. If you lose, you like lose the points. If you win, you get more points, and like it basically gets like refunded back to you with a bit more points. So that's how you climb in terms of your ranking.
Okay, so essentially your coins are your MMR, as you said, your ELO rank. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. It's not the coins. It's like a whole separate like
Right,
ELO
okay.
currency.
Okay, makes
But,
sense. But how are the ranked games themselves? Are they kind of reminiscent of what we found earlier in the previous Splatoon games? Just because as much as I love Turf War, and that being the casual mode, I know with the Splatoon ranked modes, those are more... I feel like those are where your FPS and your TPS sensibilities come into fruition. So are there any different modes, or are they kind of just what we kind of have come to expect with Splatoon ranked?
I think it's the exact same modes that's always been in, at least in Splatoon 2. You have like your tower mode, which is like where you're kind of trying to push a tower from one end of the map to the other.
Yeah.
You have your, I can't remember I think it's called like Splat Zone. It's the King of the Hill type.
Yeah.
Where you have to like control a certain area. You have the Rainmaker, where you're trying to move an item from one end to the other. And then you have like I can't remember the actual name of this mode as well, but like it's the clam collection, where you have to collect the clam shells into like your collector thing.
Right.
But yeah, like I mean, like I think those were all modes in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, those do sound familiar from my limited time with Splatoon 2 ranked mode. But Matt, how are you finding the competition?
It's wild right now, Jaren, because when you import a save from Splatoon 2,
you can import saves?
Yes, you don't really like fully import them. It's basically like, okay, you have Splatoon 2 save data on the Switch. That means you get 3 golden Sheldon tickets and you start at rank B minus, I think it is. But apparently the B minus right now is wild, because all the people who were B minus and above in Splatoon 2 are now at B minus. It's wild to go there if you're actually only a B minus rank.
Right.
Because that means everybody in A tier, S tier, X tier are all there trying to fight their way out. And if you're not a high tier from Splatoon 2, it's miserable right now. But so I'm mostly just sticking around in Turf War.
Okay.
Because I still don't really have my bearings in terms of like what I like to use.
Okay.
Or what I want to stick to using, at least.
Are there any weapons that are kind of calling out to you? Not necessarily, going to you as a main, but something you're saying, oh, okay, I can see myself using this in the long run.
Like, I gotta go back to my classic arrow spray.
Oh man, classic Matt. Is it still good? Is it still good for Turf War?
For Turf 4, I think it's like very, very good because like it's you have decent, what do you call it? You have like decent spread and like you can cover a lot of ground, but it definitely isn't the thing to go to for what do you call it? For like any of the competitive modes where you aren't really just gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna go this way for a while and just like cover turf for a bit.
Yeah.
When I was looking more so into stuff to use there, I'm finding I'm liking all the kind of like close rangey weapons, like the brushes, the rollers, or the splatanas. Like all of those are very nice for me because I don't really trust my aim just yet.
Right.
For Splatoon, because I don't know, the motion controls for Splatoon are obviously the way to go, no matter like what item you're playing.
Yes.
But like the fine control of having to use something like one of the snipers or one of the I guess like just any of the other gunners or I can't remember the category for like the slow shooters like the 50 gal and those things, but I know they're in their own category. But the lack of rate of fire on them is just very off-putting to me right now because I can't consistently land the shots.
Okay, for sure.
So I just like to run in and just like splat on people.
Right.
And I think one of the new things that they introduced for Splatoon 3 is one of the new specials, which is it's basically like a grappling hook.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and they attach it to a lot of the close range weapons, which I think is like a very nice like change and lets you get over that whole, oh, I don't have range, so you can just like shoot me from like really, really far away.
Oh yeah, that was definitely something I noticed with when I did my short time in competitive in Splatoon 2. But it's nice that at least adding options, especially for all the close range weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Since I found, I'm not sure about you, Matt, but in my time with Splatoon 2, I did like the big roller. But it's true, when I was kind of having to fight someone at a distance, that was really unpleasant, Matt. So to hear there's a grappling hook now, at least for some of the close range weapons, that's something I'm really looking forward to trying for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Matt,
Mm-hmm.
but let's be honest, Splatoon, sure, I love Turf War, splatting with weapons is always fun, but Matt,
Mm-hmm.
it's always about how fresh you look in Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, how are the cosmetics this time around?
I'm still kind of early, so the cosmetics really aren't that great for the shop that I'm at, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be like scaling with your level plus a little bit of like randomness in there.
For sure.
But I mean, I like them. They're all still your standard Splatoon clothes. I think the thing that throws me off the most, I can't remember. I'm assuming the previous ones were like this, but the fact that the color that they show on the item in the shop is predetermined, right? So like, for example, there's like a pink toque, but when you buy it, it switches to the color that your Inkling or Octoling is currently set up as.
Oh.
Because I'm pretty sure that's like randomized, right? Because every time you like go into a match, you'll come out as like whatever color you were like inking with in your previous match.
Oh,
right?
I think so.
Like,
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit jarring there because sometimes I'm not sure which parts of the costume are going to change.
Right. Yeah.
Because like, for example, yeah, like I'll buy like it's like a black, I don't know, red and blue hoodie, and you would need to expect that either the red or the blue would change, but you're not really sure which one.
Right.
Until you buy it, and then you switch it, and it's like, oh, with the Inkling color that I am now, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's always kind of been a shame with the different Splatoon games, just because you would kind of expect, oh, only your hair color really should change, or maybe some sort of, I think, detail rather than the whole clothing item itself. But yeah, I know where you're coming from in terms of that. But Matt,
Yeah.
have you touched any of the single player or the salmon run?
Yes, I've been doing the single player and the salmon run because like the single player I think is interesting. Apparently the single player, if you dedicate yourself to just beelining the main, I guess, missions, you can finish a single player in like 2 hours.
Oh wow, okay.
But that's only if you're beelining, because the way that this single player works now is that you're basically dropped into an open world kind of area,
Okay.
and there's all these like big slime nodes that bar your like progress, and if you touch it, you just insta die, right?
Oh, okay, sure.
So in the overworld, there's like these just like in any of the other Splatoon games, there's like these little pots that you go in, and then they shoot you off into like the actual level for the mission.
Right.
When you do those, you get a certain amount of like points for completing it, and then you use those points to power up your. You have like a fish friend now.
Okay.
And you power him up with the points, and then he breaks the slime. Like he can clear through the slime himself.
Okay.
So depending on which slimes you break, you're either going to make, I guess, like main story progress or side progress where you get like, I don't know, decorations or clothes, or you just make like, I guess, like single player side progress where you open up more levels. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
The way I said it? Yeah. So basically it's kind of up to you on how long your single player experience is going to take. I'm kind of just unlocking whatever I want and trying to not progress too far into the main node.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, but like I'll buy the main node but then not go past it because I'm scared I'm going to run into a point where, oh no, I've spent too much on side stuff and now I have to actually grind to hit the main node.
Yeah.
But
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I like the single player.
But in terms of level design, how does it compare to, say, the previous Splatoons? More or less the same, or do you think there are more interesting mechanics at play?
I think it's far more interesting than what I remember Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 being. One of the things that I really like the most compared to the previous single players is that in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, there was stuff hidden inside the level itself, right?
Yep.
They don't do that in Splatoon 3. Your Splatoon 3 thing is like straightforward. You're going to do these missions. You don't have to look around for stuff because the stuff that they've hidden is inside of that like big open world overworld, right?
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So the levels themselves are now, I think, like far more better designed for like the actual content that they're trying to push in there. And I don't know, like I think that the levels are designed a lot better because I don't remember because I was playing Splatoon 2 the week before Splatoon 3 and I was just like burning through that single player. And Splatoon 2's single player felt a lot more straightforward than Splatoon 3. It's like you have a lot more, I guess, like freedom in Splatoon 3. I don't know if it's like really freedom, but they designed the levels so that you'll always like, okay, go forward for a bit and then you'll hit a point where you can do one of 2 or 3 things. You have to complete all of those things to like continue progressing, and then it'll like bring you to another one of those kind of like 2 to 3 thing type forks before you can keep continuing.
Okay.
And I kind of like that system a bit better than Splatoon 2 is basically, okay, here's one trial, you do it, you go to the next trial, you do it, you go to the next trial, you do it.
Yeah.
Which I think was also the same in like Splatoon 1. So Splatoon 3 single player is like very enjoyable to me.
Okay. Yeah. Good to hear, Matt. And yeah, I'm really curious to see how the open world aspect is, plus in looking for the different hidden things, just because I don't know about you, Matt, but in terms of replaying levels, I'm not necessarily a fan of going back and trying to find hidden items. I'm mostly one of those types of people where I just kind of want to be one and done, get through it, move on, and see what I can find in way. I'm not really a fan of replaying a level for the sole purpose of, okay, I need to look through every nook and cranny. Again, this is just an age thing of, okay, I was really into doing that when I was younger, but these days, with, such tight timing or free time for gaming, I just want to kind of get through it and experience something really cool rather than going back just to kind of pick up items. So that's good to hear that at least it's been at least shifted, and arguably the levels are designed to more tighter. So I'm really excited to go try that out.
Yeah, the only real reason to go back to a level now is to, like I said before, like get more points.
Right.
But you can also get more points by clearing the level with a weapon you haven't done it with before.
Oh, nice. I think that also happened in Splatoon 2, because I remember there were some levels where I had to, speaking about the big paint roller, where I had to use the paint roller and I thought, this is miserable and I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm really excited to try that. And finally, Matt, how has your time been with Salmon Run?
I enjoy Salmon Run. I never got to play Salmon Run in Splatoon 2 because I think it like came out like after I lost interest in Splatoon 2. But it's enjoyable. The co-op in it is like very fun. They have a lot of, I guess, like of the boss. Okay, I guess I should start from the beginning in that for people who don't know what Salmon Run is, it's Splatoon 2's co-op mode.
It's essentially like a horde mode, yeah.
Yeah, it's a co-op horde mode where basically there's gonna be a bunch of salmon monsters coming at you, and you have to like you don't necessarily. I think you don't actually necessarily have to kill them, but it's beneficial for you to kill them. The only ones you need to kill are the boss salmonoids, who drop eggs, and the way that the co-op like rounds progress is like you have a certain amount of time to kill a certain amount of boss salmonoids to get whatever your target egg count is.
Yes.
And like the more eggs you collect, you can like get a bonus for that as well. But like yeah, the general idea is you have to kill specifically the boss salmonoids and get the eggs from them.
Man, Matt, I just love Salmon Run in Splatoon 2. I think I played that almost as much as I played like regular Turf War, which again was my favorite multiplayer aspect of Splatoon 2. So how have the bosses been for you from which ones you've experienced?
The bosses are all actually like pretty good. There's some where like they were specifically designed for co-op, I think. There's a part in you're getting like introduced to the salmon run mode.
Yes.
Where as a part of the tutorial you have to fight each of the different like boss salmonoid types just so you know how you're supposed to like fight them.
Okay.
There's like this really long kind of like mechanical eel looking one where it's totally impervious to any damage except for exactly at the tail. And man, doing that in the co-op by yourself was, I don't know, Jaren, that was miserable for me because like I couldn't go around it.
I think I remember a variation of that from Splatoon 2, but yeah.
But like I think like all of the boss avenues are very interestingly designed. Like there's a lot of concepts that I recognize from the Splatoon 1, Splatoon 3, or Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 single player kind of like boss gimmicks that it's nice to see inside of a Salmon Run. But I don't know. I think Salmon Run's a very fun mode. I don't know if this was in like Splatoon 2, but like there's like the night, because most of the time you're doing these in the daytime, but there'll be sometimes where it switches to nighttime and you're not even going to be fighting boss salmonoids then. It's just all the normal ones just become ridiculously strong.
Oh, okay. I don't necessarily remember that from Splatoon 2, so that might be new, but that sounds really cool too.
Yeah. And man, Jaren, there's like a very weird like spike in difficulty at some point where at first I'm like, oh yeah, la di da di da, like I'm like killing it. And I never got that gradual ramp up. All of a sudden it was just like, holy crap, I'm just like losing. Me and my team are just losing a bunch of these, just like, I don't know, every other game now instead of never losing them at all. And I think it's like the introduction of that night mode that's really messing with me.
I do remember a weird difficulty for a Salmon Run where definitely, yeah. I think in Splatoon 2, my biggest issue is just because all the different boss salmons are random. And if you got a bad set, especially, I feel like as the rounds progress, I forget how it was structured, but there were essentially like 3 different rounds from what I remember. And then you got graded. Yeah. Depending on which bosses you got in the 3rd round, some were just like, plus you'd be swarmed by like the tiny mobs, and I remember depending on who you got, that run would basically be over, or you wouldn't be able to meet the egg target, which was unfortunate. But yeah, I'm really curious to also jump into that again, just because I really love Salmon Run.
Oh, plus you can throw the eggs now, which is apparently is a very nice change.
Nice, sounds good, Matt.
Yeah, but yeah, Salmon was like really, really good, especially when you get those surprise round 4s of the Godzilla Salmonoid. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, used all my specials already.
All right, Matt. Final question. I know I asked you this, I think, a few weeks ago. Now that you've gotten your hands on Splatoon 3, how are the idol hosts this time around?
Jared, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know a thing about them.
Okay. Because,
Jaren, I think the biggest change to Splatoon 3 is that you don't have to watch those the TV show anymore.
Really?
Yeah. You can just, you don't necessarily skip it, but it becomes a kind of just like text boxes in the top of your screen where they're just showing the things that they're saying instead of you actually having to dedicate the turning on of your Switch to watching like Callie Marie and who are the other ones? I don't even know any of them other than Callie Marie anymore. But like, yeah. I mean, their designs look interesting.
I like their designs, but this is one of those quality. One, of course, it's a quality of life improvements. I know that was a big gripe
Hmm.
for a lot of people of being forced to, see the map rotation and see whatever fun stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me feels a bit bummed because you're losing out on, some pseudo charm that
Yeah.
I've come to expect from Splatoon.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like, I guess, like stuff in Splatoon to like do now, because like
Yeah.
you have your locker decoration stuff, you have your Jaren. They didn't. I think they didn't have something like this in Splatoon 2. But I know in Splatoon 2, one of the big problems was that you just have nothing to do with your money after a while.
Yeah.
So now you can create your kind of like battle tag in there, right? But to get the stuff in there, Jaren, you have to go through a literal gotcha machine.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough, Matt.
There's a little like gacha machine inside of the lobby where you like do your what do you call it? Your like PvP stuff, and you kind of just like, oh, every day like you can spend your first spin of the day is only like 5,000 gold, so you got to check in every day to do that, or else you have to pay like I think it's like 30,000 gold for a spin.
Yeah.
Down.
That's how they get you, Matt. That's how they get you.
Yeah. Like, and like everything comes out of there. Like you get like kind of like the bonus stuff where you can get like the tickets for ordering food, so that it's like, oh, okay, your next match is gonna give you like double money or double experience or stuff like that. Or you'll get your decorations that you can use to decorate your locker, or you can get the decorations for your what do I call it again? Your not battle pass. Oh, there's a battle pass in this game, Jared.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, not a battle pass in the sense of like every other thing's battle pass, but
Just like an unlocked tree or unlocked track.
yeah, there's an unlock track that because like normally, what do you call it? Salmon Run and the standard PvP modes don't really share any kind of like progress for example, your clothes, right? Because only your clothes only level up inside of single player, and then in Salmon Run you kind of have to use the Salmon Run currency to buy clothes specifically for Salmon Run. So they have like this catalog track where you kind of just constantly level that up, and you slowly, like, I don't know, just like slowly either unlock money or bonuses or just decorations or clothes every so often. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like, it sort of just like works like that. Jared, there's a whole portion of this game that I almost missed. I should have brought this up during the clothing part, but I just remembered about it now, which is that this interacts with the Nintendo app.
Oh no! Do I have to update that app, Matt?
You should update it, Jared, because one of the things that the Nintendo app does is that it has a whole separate clothing line in it.
That's how they get you, Matt. That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. That's how they get. I mean, I was using it already for Animal Crossing, so like
Right.
But yeah, there's a whole separate like clothing thing there, and you can order clothes, and you go to the what's his name again? The barnacle dude. There's a barnacle. There's a barnacle NPC inside of the game, and like he's the one where when you talk to him, he can be like, okay, yeah, this is where you receive your orders for the stuff that you're ordering through the app.
Oh, was that Spike?
I think. Oh yeah, Spike.
Right.
But yeah, like there's a whole separate like set of clothes there. That's the only place where I've seen so far where I can get the 3 slot items.
Right. I know that comes with how far you level up in the game too, based on your player level. But oh man, Matt, I need to know the meta. I forgot what the meta was in Splatoon 2 that I needed all my items to have like these select passives. But
Yeah.
just hearing you talk about Splatoon 3, Matt, it's one of those things where I'm so excited to play it, but at the same time, I know the trappings I ran into in Splatoon 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that there's more trappings to fall into, I'm legit concerned for my free time, Matt.
I mean, I actually getting even the higher tier items, I don't even think is specifically only level tied now, because
really?
I've lucked into it a little bit, but for the items that you can buy from shops, since it's like randomly going to rotate what shows up in the shop, if you buy an item previously, right, and then like you just have it or whatever, and it shows up again in the shop, you can buy it again and you can increase its star level, so you get that extra slot in there.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
But it'll like cost like, I don't know, like 10 times more than it did before. But like,
yeah. Oh man, I'm really excited, Matt. There hasn't been a Splatfest yet, right?
Other than that beta one that we missed, I don't think there's been a Splatfest.
Man, Matt, you know, it's coming. Every mistake zone, a Splatfest check-in. Which team do we support? It's gonna be good. But yeah, Matt, really, I know it's more Splatoon, but at the end of the day, I that's kind of what I want. I want that aesthetic, I want
Yeah,
that
yeah.
vibe, and I just love the gameplay of Splatoon. So just to get more of it, an updated version, I'm really excited. Any closing thoughts on
Mhm.
Splatoon 3 for now, Matt? Because I know we're going to be talking about this in the future again.
Did they have accolades in Splatoon 2? Little things that say like, "Oh, what you did in the match" at the end of it. I can't remember.
I can't remember, to be honest, but is that something in Splatoon 3 now?
Yeah, they have like little things that say, "Oh, you were like the first person to splat someone," or "You were the number one like ink coverage," or "You turfed your home base the most, and you turfed the
Okay.
enemy base the most." And Jaren, there's two in there that really mess with me whenever I get them. One is number one enemy target, and the other one is number one damage taken.
Oh no, that's not nice, Matt. That's not nice.
Oh man, whenever I get those, I'm like, damn, I got cranked.
Okay, Matt, I have to ask this
Mm-hmm.
before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing Turf War, start of the game. Are you I need to splat my home base first, or are you I need to aggro and get as far as I can? What's your Turf War playstyle?
What do you call it? I'll run to the middle as quick as
Yep.
I can while inking,
Yes.
but I'm not going to engage in the middle right
Right.
away. I get as far as I can, see where the enemy is, and then I'll start splatting around just to build up my special. And then once I have my special, I go in.
I don't care if it's the baby multiplayer mode. Turf War is so much fun to me. I love it.
I like Turf War. Yeah.
Turf War is so much fun. But yeah, Matt, can't wait to start splatting with you when I hopefully get it this week.
Yo.
And hopefully by next week, we'll be able to tell if we're squids now or kids now.
Mm-hmm. Yo, bro. When you got it, let me know.
I'll definitely let you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
speaking about being stylish
Mm-hmm.
and seeing if you're a squid now or a kid now,
Mm-hmm.
there's one game I've been playing this week where I feel like this is definitely aimed at a specific younger demographic, but
Okay.
also those that might be a child at heart. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
this week I've been playing Disney's Dreamlight Valley, which I'm playing on Xbox Game Pass. And it's currently in early access now. I believe the minimum buy-in is 40 Canadian. And in Game Pass, you can, as long as you're a member, you can get a founder's pack. And Matt, Disney's Dreamlight Valley is essentially, it's a social sim, but it's kind of like a Disney Animal Crossing. But if you were to replace all the crossing animals with different Disney characters. So,
Okay.
two things about Disney Dreamlight Valley. One, you can actually try out the avatar creator on Steam right now for free. And
nice.
there you can just create your avatar, try out all the different clothing options. And once you're done, you can, take some pictures, of course, but then you can also export it via code and enter that code into Dreamlight Valley itself to import that character you create. Little pro tip, Matt, if you were to do this, I recommend doing the avatar creator first because similar to Animal Crossing, you have to unlock new clothes, whether it's through purchases, through drops, through rewards. But in the avatar creator, everything's kind of unlocked for you to try on. So I've been talking to Julian too, where we both did the avatar creator, and what we recommend is honestly just equip anything within the preset categories, just so you have it in the start, because once you create that character, you have no guarantee of when you'd unlock, this particular hairstyle or this coat or this shirt. So even if you're not going to use it, might as well min-max your character at that point. But one of the things that really stood out about the avatar creator is it's actually a pretty in-depth in terms of customization styles. Julian and I really were impressed. It gave us Saints Row 2 vibes in terms of what you can do with the different layers of your clothing. Plus, just because I feel it with a lot of social sims similar to Animal Crossing, you only get like a few different tops, a few different bottoms. You don't necessarily get different layers of, maybe I want a scarf with this undershirt, but I also want a coat on top of it, or I want a skirt with leggings and boots, stuff like that. Where I feel like you only have top, you only have bottom, you only have shoes, you have your head and whatnot. But for in terms of dress up doll simulator, I feel like Disney's Dreamlight Valley, at least in the avatar creation suite, gives you a lot of freedom in terms of how you can layer and what you can equip. There are a lot of different hairstyles as well from different Disney kind of princesses and characters and leads. So that's another cool thing if you're really into like the Disney stuff. And in terms of the character style itself, it's really reminiscent of, I would say, Pixar, your standard Pixar character, but it also gives me the vibe of the current Xbox series or the Xbox One avatar. So it's kind of this not like cartoony, but not necessarily chibi type avatar, which overall I was really impressed by the character creator, and I brought them into the game. And that this is Animal Crossing. Essentially, there is a bit of a storyline where, it kind of gives me this this introduction where, you're tired of the hustle and bustle of real life. You wish you were transported into this faraway land. One, I think this is an isekai game. My headcanon is you were hit by truck, Truck-kun, and then you're transported here, but you're instantly transported into, I guess, the Dreamlight Valley, where it's been taken over by this mysterious dark fog called the Forgetting, which causes, all the different Disney characters to forget. They don't know who they are, what their purpose is, and it's really up to you to restore the Disney Dreamlight Valley and the Disney Kingdom, all while restoring it and inviting all these different Disney characters to come live with you.
If you told me that was the plot to a Kingdom Hearts game, I would 100% believe you.
This could definitely be a Kingdom Hearts game, but unlike Kingdom Hearts, there are no, what are they called, like shadows or whatever, others. There's no real combat. It is essentially, hey, I'm going to pick weeds, I'm going to smash rocks, I'm going to fish, I'm going to talk to Goofy, I'm going to talk to Scrooge McDuck, and I'm going to talk to Merlin the wizard, and I'm just going to restore this island and customize my house and unlock character costumes. And it's legit Animal Crossing for the most part. I'm not that far in, but it's also kind of built as a service game with different events and different things you can do, where it's not necessarily a game where I feel like I'm going to stick with, but I'm kind of curious to see how it evolves during early access and what different types of things that you can do with it, just because I know, Matt, we didn't necessarily get to talk about Animal Crossing in its heyday, but as much as we dumped thousands of hours into Animal Crossing, I think I told you one of my biggest gripes with Animal Crossing is, other than the whole kind of customization and managing your island, there wasn't necessarily much to do. You know what I mean? And I'm curious to see if that's going to, how the live service aspect will kind of influence how the gameplay is presented, if we will get more mini games, if we might get more structural gameplay, or if it is just, I need to clean up the island and make sure to talk to all the different inhabitants. So far, all the different quests that I've received were basically, hey, can you clear this area of the fog thorns, which is essentially you picking weeds, or can you fish 3 times and then sell the fish to Goofy and stuff like that. So I'm really curious just to see, even though it's not something I see myself sticking to like I did Animal Crossing, I just really do want to see how they actually expand on that social sim idea. But Matt, there's one thing that's been throwing me off right now, and it's the stamina meter. Where every time you say you clear a weed, or you break a rock, or you catch a fish, it uses up some stamina. And once that stamina meter drains, you can't do anything until you either eat food or you go back to your house to rest. And resting is essentially just entering your house and leaving it. And honestly, Matt, this feels like it's going to go free to play at some point. And I'm not saying that, the stamina system is kind of restricting, like, what we're used to in free to play games of, I'm going to do something, I have to wait a couple of minutes for my stamina to regen. But the fact that I have to either eat something or go back to my home kind of breaks the flow of things, which is a bit weird to me. as well. And number two that kind of threw me off was that, of course, there's a battle pass, Matt. And with the Founders Pack, you are given at least, I think, 8,000 currency. I believe to purchase the battle pass, that's like 2,000 currency. So I bought the battle pass, and I bought the beefy battle pass, which gives you like the first 25 levels. Okay. Just because I don't actually know what you're going to spend this currency. We know what you're going to spend the currency on. It's going to be cosmetics. It's going to be clothing, stuff like that. But again, I don't know how long I'm going to play this game. So I just bought the beefy battle pass with the extra levels so I can unlock, different things to put in my room or cosmetics. The first battle pass is Pixar based. So it's just a bunch of different cosmetics and motifs and or motifs and different costumes from Pixar things. So I did that, and I was talking to Julian again about it, and he said he wished he bought the beefy battle pass when he started, just because to actually progress the battle pass, it's really grindy. It is a lot of, you need to sell, let's say you have to pick 50 rocks or cook 50 different meals or sell 100 fish, stuff like that.
I see.
It's tasks like that to kind of increase your battle pass, which is, again, if you're kind of into that social sim, easygoing, hey, I'm going to throw on some music or a podcast in the background while I do this busy work, I think that's fine. But I don't know. We put in such a beefy amount of time into Animal Crossing. I'm not sure I can do it again so soon with Disney's Dreamlight Valley. But it is something that I am curious to see how it progresses and to see if it does anything different than the tried and true Animal Crossing formula. Just because as much as I love Animal Crossing, I kind of want to see different gameplay mechanics incorporated into here. And when you have the Disney properties at hand with all these different characters and worlds, I want to see what you can do with that as well in terms of gameplay. But Matt, the final thing about the Battle Pass, to kind of loop everything back around, I was looking through the Battle Pass, and, one, I was kind of soured of, here's a paid game that I thought was free to play, but apparently it's all paid with the Battle Pass, boo. But Matt, I was looking through the Battle Pass, and then I went on, I noticed two costumes, and that made me realize, Matt, this game's for perverts. Because one, Matt, on page 2, you have the Mrs. Incredible bodysuit costume with short boots. But if you get to page 4, the final unlock is your Mrs. Incredible bodysuit with thigh-high boots. Matt,
amazing.
There, as I said before, there's a particular audience for Disney Dreamlight Valley, and when I saw that there's two Mrs. Incredible costumes, and one of them has the later unlock, it's the thigh-high boots. I knew that this was directed at a certain audience, Matt.
Oh man, that's good.
But
oh man,
but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's wild. Look, because at first when you said, "Oh yeah, they have short boots," I'm like, "Oh, I don't see what's so bad about that." But
a separate unlockable for the thigh-high version variant.
That's so good.
But yeah, again, I feel like I'm just gonna poke my head here and there for this game just to see how it grows. But yeah, for the most part, it's Disney Animal Crossing. If that sounds like your jam, definitely at least check out the avatar creation just to play around. But remember, if you're gonna port it over, gotta min-max, gotta make sure, even if you're not gonna use it, Matt, bring as much items as you can with you.
Wait, how do you bring as much as you can? Doesn't it just bring whatever you have equipped, or?
So, Matt, this goes into the layering part where,
right,
okay, I'm going to bring in a hat, I'm going to bring in glasses, I'm going to bring in earrings, I'm going to bring in a scarf.
Yeah.
Not only am I going to bring underwear, I'm going to bring a sweater and a top, I'm going to bring leggings, I'm going to bring a skirt, stuff like that. So even if just in case you want to get it, Matt, because if you don't bring it in with you, you got to unlock it at some point.
That just makes me I just want to go and play APB.
Matt, I always want to go and play APB.
Man. I'm so sad.
Is that still going on?
Jaren, I'm looking at the APB site right now. On January 22nd, 2021, there was an APB 2021 roadmap. There has been no post since then. God.
Oh man. I think on an off week we might have to go back into APB just to see what the deal is.
Doesn't even need to be an off week, man. Yo, just name the week. I'll do APB.
Oh man, Matt. But yeah, that's my short time with Disney's Dreamlight Valley. I'm really excited to see where it is. Matt, a lot of character customization going on this week. A lot of perversion going on this week. But that's the mistake zone. Another good episode, one that's making me excited about, gaming as a whole. And maybe next week we'll see if we can touch upon anime once again. But Matt, I want to thank you as always for joining me this week. I want to thank all our friends out there for joining us once again to discuss our many mistakes. And Matt, take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of page 4 thigh-high boots.
Now that's why I was shocked when I saw that unlock.